Hello and welcome, all you amazing people out there, to the Post Production Podcast. We are on episode 6.
Yeah, 6.
5 down, one more to go.
And then we're
Thousands
done.
after that. Yeah, then we're done. Yeah, we're done.
This is it.
This is it. No more. Thank you for joining us as we talk about the latest in movies, TV, and gaming news. I'm your host, Mr. Drew, and over here with me, of course, is our co-host, Adam.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. So today we got some fun stuff to talk about, some not so fun stuff to talk about. Right off the bat, we're going to get into some of the news media that's been going on recently. We're going to talk about and review the Murder on the Orient Express, which just came out this weekend. We're going to talk a little bit about some Star Wars, of course, because we're both just like happy as just can be.
Yeah, I mean, how can you not be?
Some of this news. Then we're going to do, a little bit on what we're watching and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, all right. It's been a couple weeks now, right? The Weinstein thing kicked it all off, and it's just been a massive avalanche, I think, after that,
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say or specifically point fingers because nothing as of yet has been concrete or proven or anybody's been, committed of a crime. But, we have Weinstein, and then shortly after that, Kevin Spacey is in the media. Louis C.K.
Yeah, Louis
C.K. Right after that came out in the media.
A few days ago.
And now we have George Takei from the original Star Wars.
Star Trek?
Oh my God, yeah. Wow. Triggered.
I should have just let you.
I know. You should have just let me go on that. I'd have figured it out.
But yeah, so all of them, there were allegations toward all of them in the past couple of weeks over sexual misconduct and stuff like that. And I mean, we felt like we should address it, just because it is something that's going on in the world of movies in Hollywood. So, I mean, it has affected and does affect a lot of people. So we just kind of want to talk about it real quick, but
I'm saddened because, I mean, Kevin Spacey is probably one of my favorite actors from my past. I mean, Usual Suspects is a fantastic movie. American Beauty is a phenomenal movie.
Yeah.
And now I feel that, I'm not going to be able to enjoy these movies in that same context anymore because of this, all these looming things that have happened. Louis C.K. is one of my favorite comedians, and I'm not going to say that in any kind of severity whether his allegations are more or less severe, but I don't think that his career is going to take as much of a backlash as Kevin Spacey's will, because
and also it's the way that he apologized as well,
right?
Like, I think out of everyone, he actually came out and said, you know what, this is all true, whereas like Kevin Spacey, he was like, oh, I don't really remember that, but hey, by the way, I'm gay.
I'm gay. Oh, and I might have been drunk, sorry.
And it's like Kevin Spacey, he handled it totally wrong. And, Louis C.K., he didn't give the perfect apology, but he did come out and say, you know what, that is true. And
hit me with whatever book you want to hit me with. I mean, he was
ready
just kind of like,
he was like,
I'm not gonna beat around the bush. I did it.
Yeah.
What happens.
Yeah.
And he's been dropped from Netflix. Netflix is not going to do his new comedy special.
Yeah, FX a few other things.
Dropping his show. He had a new movie that was about to come out, which immediately got shelved. I mean, and these are immediate repercussions.
Yeah.
The same with Kevin Spacey.
I mean, he literally has a movie coming out next month, and you wouldn't think so, but Ridley Scott, the director, totally recast his role, and who's replacing him?
Christopher Plummer.
Yeah, so we got Chris Plummer coming in to replace the role that Kevin Spacey had in this movie called All the Money in the World. And this movie is set to come out December 22nd, which is just over a month away. And this is almost like unheard of to do reshoots this late. But Ridley Scott, as soon as these allegations surfaced, he said, "No, we have to recast. This movie's coming out, but we cannot have Kevin Spacey in it."
Right. And I got to give kudos to the production company to, this is expensive. This is not like, oh, this is just going to be a minor setback. I mean, this is completely erasing someone from a movie, reshooting it, and then even Mark Wahlberg and what's her name?
Michelle Williams.
Michelle Williams were like, yeah, absolutely, we'll come back, we'll reshoot the scenes that we need to with this character, because it's more important for us to have this movie done correctly with the right people than it is to save a little bit of money just to make sure that we get it out before the Oscars, because that's the main focus here, is because they're still keeping the release date because they want it to be out for consideration for the Oscars, which I think is admirable. But at the same time, I'm more, besides having a massive brain fart, I'm more inclined to be respectful and proud of the companies going, you know what, we'll take the hit, whether we make it up or not, we don't care, but we want the movie to be casted correctly with the right people. We don't want this person to sully, this movie and the work that all these people have done and have that be associated with them. So
yeah, and well, here I am brain farting as well.
Welcome to Fart Week.
Well, see, I just came across another article which is really interesting because another producer, Brett Ratner, is being accused of sexual misconduct as well, as far as I can tell. And he's a producer in some of the DC movies, I believe. So Wonder Woman, and so Wonder Woman herself, Gal Gadot, she literally said she will not be returning if he is still on.
Wow.
And so, I mean, they're not going to lose Wonder Woman. They wouldn't ever.
No, they're not going to do that.
He's replaceable.
Yeah, he's gone.
He's gone in a second.
But here, I mean, this avalanche.
Yeah, and
I mean, how tall is this mountain going to be? Where this thing just keeps tumbling down in ever increasing volume.
But you know what? I'd rather it all come to light rather than these scumbags keep their jobs and keep doing what they're doing.
Right.
I think it is gonna have an effect on Hollywood as a whole, because people are gonna understand that I can't do these terrible things to these people anymore because I will absolutely get caught. Whereas before, no one ever talked about this stuff. And so people, these Kevin Spaceys and Harvey Weinsteins and everything, they felt like they could get away with it because, who's going to tell on me, right?
Right. That's the sign, I think, I said it earlier, of our social maturity, as a whole, because these kinds of things, they weren't talked about, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
It was just something that just kind of, it usually got hushed. I'm not condoning it. I'm not saying that was okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm old enough to know that I grew up in that era where certain things you just didn't talk about.
Yeah.
It was more of the, just man up and deal with it on your own, because you don't need to go talk to someone else about your feelings or how someone, did something to you. Just own it.
Yeah.
And, as a society, I think, we finally kind of eclipsed to this point of a maturity to the way where no one's just going to shut up anymore. People feel comfortable and they feel empowered and they feel vindicated to talk about what happened to them, that it was wrong that these things happened to them, and that it shouldn't be condoned. It shouldn't be swept under the carpet.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be litigated.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be a side deal in a lawyer's office with cash involved.
Yeah.
It needs to come to light.
And I think that before it was a big fear factor involved as well. It's if I come out, my career might be over.
Exactly.
People might blame me, and this all might get turned back on me, and how is it going to affect, this and that, and all these what ifs. But I think now people are starting to realize that, hey, like, there are other people that have gone through the same thing, and, people are here to support. Whereas before, there was that fear of, it all just come tumbling back down on you instead of the people, at fault.
Right.
So,
well, I think, in that, what you just described there, I think a big, massive part of that is social media. 20 years ago, none of this was available. If you spoke out, it was your voice and only your voice that would get heard in a very small room.
Yeah.
Where now people have the ability to share and talk about all these things that have happened to them. And, I think that power that a lot of these people, because I think a lot of people are kind of confused, especially with these high profile actors and producers. It's like, you have all the money in the world. If you have some kind of deviant behavior that you need to explore, do it at home and quiet. You can provide yourself with that. You can pay for that. I'm not condoning or saying it's okay to go buy yourself a boy toy in any way, but you have the financial ability to do that in closed doors, I guess quietly.
In private, in your
in
private life.
in your private life.
Yeah.
But
yeah, people.
That's not the thrill that I think that some of these people enjoy, because I think they enjoy that thrill of, I have the power and I have the ability to ruin your career unless you let me do this to you.
Yeah,
and you're just going to have to just shut up.
And that's just so wrong on so many levels. And I'm glad that these people basically, I hope they don't have a career in Hollywood anymore after the things that they've done, because it's like, how can this stuff be forgiven, especially with like Kevin Spacey and, all of these people. You don't know how long this stuff has been going on,
right? How
many people they've affected, that's just insane. So,
and it's a massive effect. I know that there's people out there that have had this happen to them.
Yeah.
And they understand the effect that this can have on your life.
Yeah.
These are people that are in power. A lot of times they're mentors, they're friends, they're people that you look up to.
Yeah.
They're people that you aspire to be.
Yeah.
And then this corruption of that trust happens. Yeah. And it affects you on a profound level. So we don't know how many other people are out there, but we do know that this effect, it weakens us as people. It weakens us as a community. It weakens us in a social atmosphere. And the more that we talk about it, the more that it comes to light, and the more I think that we put our foot down and say, this is absolutely not acceptable.
Yeah. It
just makes us stronger as a whole.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I'm not saying that I'm tired of hearing any of this stuff, but this stuff is just gonna, if anything, it's not gonna slow down.
I don't think it's gonna slow down.
Because, it's Hollywood. And if this many people have done it, how many other people have done it?
Right. I think people need to be prepared, because in my honest opinion, I think this is just a look through the keyhole. The door hasn't even opened yet. It hasn't even cracked.
Yeah, no.
I think the severity and the widespread kind of understanding of how much this has been going on is going to become very apparent in here very soon. And I think there's a lot of people that are going to need our support.
Absolutely.
Anyone who's listening to this, especially production companies, do the right thing.
Yeah.
Don't. This is no longer the era of keeping things quiet.
Yeah.
You need to get out ahead of this if you can. You need to be prepared for this, and you need to do the right things and make the right decisions. And, case in point, all the people involved with the movie, All the Money in the World, take that as a great example. They're doing the right thing, and it's not about the money. It's about doing the right thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't know. I just hope we hold the people responsible. We support the victims, and I don't know, just move forward, I guess.
Yeah, I'll leave it there because I could keep going.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
can keep talking about this for
Yeah.
hours. In my opinion, a great movie came out this weekend, Murder on the Orient Express, which is a murder mystery. It's a remake of an original that came out
I think 1974.
19 was it 1974?
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. So 40, wow. 40. Hey, I should know this because I was born in 1974.
Very
We are
good.
very good. Yeah. Yeah. So a movie as old as I am. Spoiler.
Yeah. They weren't ready for that.
Yeah. No, they weren't. Yeah, I don't think they were ready for that because
Uh,
I sound so young and
Oh, yeah.
sexy and all those good things.
Well, I was about to say that, but
I think just the young, but I'll ad lib the sexy in there. So what'd you think?
so I went into this movie pretty excited. It has an all-star cast, amazing cast.
Fantastic cast.
Kenneth Branagh is the director, and of course the star. It looked amazing to me, and I was really excited for it. And then I started looking at the reviews, and they were kind of mixed. So then I was like, okay, I'm just gonna see it for myself, and we'll go from there. And I have to say, I'm a little disappointed. I think that would be the word.
Oh,
Um,
pourquoi?
I just, maybe I was expecting a little something different than what I got, but ultimately I was disappointed. How did you feel about it, Drew?
I enjoyed it. I mean, I've seen the original a few times.
Have you read the book?
I haven't not read the book.
Okay.
But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed kind of. I think the pace, for me, the pace was okay because I knew going in how the pace of this movie would kind of go. It's a murder mystery, and it kind of, it gives you little tidbits here and there, and it's just this slow, steady pace, and then at the end you get this final reveal. So it's not an action movie. It's not going to keep you up and down. I thought that Kenneth Branagh was fantastic as the inspector. Hercule Poirot, I think is how you pronounce it. I probably kind of butchered that a little bit.
I'm just gonna call him Kenneth Branagh.
Yeah, but I actually just want to call him the Stash because that mustache was epic.
It was insane
on so many levels.
And almost, to be honest, it almost took me out of the movie sometimes because I would keep looking at it like, yeah, that's pretty ridiculous. Like, how does something like happen like that? Like, how did he get like that? Does he have to shave everything else right before every take or every day? Like, is it fake? Is it kind of real? Like, who came up with this? I should have been paying attention to the movie.
Yeah, I think that's a major kind of distraction for you. I mean, the waves of Stash envy.
Maybe it's just my
rippling off you were a little disturbing. I was like, man, that's an epic mustache. Right on.
And
let's watch the movie. Because
No.
I immediately was like, yeah, I can't grow that, so I'm not even gonna.
No, every close up, I was like, dang, that looks pretty good. But like, this whole train of thought like just went going and going and going, and I just it took me out a couple of times. It's probably my attention span. I just it's that short. So it really is. Okay, so the overall story, like, coming into it, the premise is, a murder happens on a train. There's like 12 suspects. It's a classic whodunit kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, cool. I'm on board. Ah, that's a pun. All aboard. So no, I was excited for this movie, and I just, okay, for me though, in the end, the final reveal of who did it, I felt that was actually really cool, and I was like, okay, awesome. But how we got there, I would have wanted something else.
So you couldn't follow how everything was leading up.
You know what? And I saw it with my mom, because she's a fan of the book, and we were talking about it after, and she was like, when did you like get it? And I was like, honestly, I wasn't following until they said it. And
Really? Okay.
maybe it was because I was kind of, I don't know if I mentioned this before, but I was like falling asleep at some parts in the beginning because they were just kind of slow for me.
Right.
Maybe I missed something, and maybe that was the reason why I didn't really get it until that moment. But yeah, maybe I need to see it again, but ultimately I kind of don't want to at the same time.
Okay, I can understand that. Now, I thought the cast that they had in it was fantastic. It was nice to see Daisy Ridley in something beyond Star Wars,
Yeah,
which was
good.
cool. I thought she did a great job.
I think a lot of people did a good job, but I feel like some people definitely upset me, to say the least.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I could say that, wow, I just completely,
Come on, man. What are you doing?
man, Johnny Depp.
Oh, I forgot his name for a second.
Yeah, I forgot his name for a second. Wow. Welcome to Brain Fart Week. Yeah, so it's really hard for me to watch Johnny Depp in movies now.
I think that's a lot of people, though.
Because I think you're just so hard casted in him in his freaking pirate outfit.
And his goofiness.
And his goofiness. And then it's the tone of his voice. So anytime you catch that inflection, whether it's, it's a slip up or it's not, you immediately think of Jack Sparrow, and I think that sucks for Johnny Depp in a way.
Yeah, to be typecast as, a single character is like, it's a nightmare because then it's like you can't do anything else because everyone's just going to think of you as that character.
Yeah.
But I mean, Johnny Depp has played an array of different characters, just over the top, crazy characters. But when he's trying to be more grounded, it's like you played Willy Wonka and you had the dumbest haircut in the world. And you start thinking about all of these other roles that he's done, and you're supposed to just be focusing on his role and his character in the movie that you're watching, but you
can't.
You kind of get caught up in your head, and yeah, I mean, he was a little distracting for me, and I think he was one of the actors who kind of took me out of it again. I kept thinking oh, that's Johnny Depp.
Now, I thought Michelle Pfeiffer did a great job. What?
I had some problems with Michelle Pfeiffer, actually.
Really?
Yeah, and you know what? I'm gonna get spoilery right now.
Okay, yeah, spoilers.
So here's your
big
warning,
red stamp.
spoilers.
Spoiler stamp.
So
that was a big sigh.
Well, here's the thing. I think so. Michelle Pfeiffer didn't work for me in particular because some of her lines and her delivery, it almost seemed like bad acting. Like it seemed like she wasn't like who she was.
But she wasn't.
But
that's the whole thing.
But that's the
she
point.
was playing a role.
That's the point that I want to say too. Is that
she's an actor playing a role.
Yeah. So and I think that's what maybe people will kind of say, hey, that's why.
Mm-hmm.
But actually watching the movie and being like, yeah, this lady's acting super weird, and I don't you think it's Michelle Pfeiffer, right?
Mm-hmm.
But she's just acting like a bad actor, and maybe that makes her a good actor. But for me, in the movie, I felt like it was I don't know, I was upset by it. And then when she was finally revealed as, that she wasn't who she said she was, I was like, oh, okay, that's why she's acting that way. But it still bothered me, and it's cringeworthy to me.
Okay, I can get that.
So I don't know. And same thing with Willem Dafoe. I actually liked his reveal of, when he just started talking normal.
Right.
Because I didn't like his character in the beginning.
Because
he's a
you
racist,
immediately tagged it as fake. Or just because he was just so racist.
Well, just because he was just so ridiculous and over the top. And I think that's something that maybe that was with a few characters is why I didn't like them, because they were over the top. But maybe that was the point.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that was a clue for me that I didn't get, that these people are all playing a role, essentially. So,
which initially
So
you
thinking
know,
back on it, it's like, yeah, that's a really cool thing, but going through the movie and going through these emotions, it's like I was watching it and I was like, I don't like this.
yeah,
I don't
you're
like
trying to
this.
figure out what's scratching that itch in the back of your mind that's going, this doesn't seem
Yeah.
right. Like there's something wrong here.
Yeah.
You have all these people on this train. None of them are really kind of in any way true. Like they all seem to be kind of this weird facsimile of some kind of role that they're trying to play, which I think, it really played into the fact that the inspector was having such a hard time initially going, there's something I'm missing. Like none of this
Yeah.
is making any sense. It's not lining up the way it should.
Yeah.
And why, and he's talking to his lost love, Katharina, and, he's just kind of like, I don't get it. Like I'm failing at something that I excel at,
Yeah. And you know what? Thinking back on it, it's like it's a cool reveal and it's a cool twist.
Mm-hmm.
But I think just how we got there, I was not following, and maybe it's just because I was, dozing off. But, well, you go on. You say some stuff because I'm gonna rant about this.
That's fine. No, for me, even though I saw the original years ago, I couldn't quite remember kind of how everything played out.
Well, that's what my mom said as well. She was like, I remember reading the book, and I remember liking it a lot, but going into this movie, like I didn't realize. But as you kind of watch it, things start coming back, and you're like, oh, okay, like
yeah. About halfway in, I remembered kind of what was going on, and I was like, okay, now either they're gonna do it this way because they gave you a really early Easter egg that gave you the biggest clue.
And what was that?
That he'd been stabbed 12 times.
Yeah, and I was thinking back on that, and I was like, there's 12 people.
Yeah.
I should have caught that, right? Yeah, that was a big clue. I thought of that, like, right when I came out. I was like, he was stabbed 12 times.
Yeah.
And they were like, yeah, and it just seemed like he was, stabbed blindly, because they're all just at different velocities and different places.
Some of them are a little bit more raged. Some of them aren't. Some of them, they did the slow stab. And
yeah, maybe I'm just not good at this stuff. Yeah. Maybe I'm just dumb.
But, some people, they watch things and they just want to enjoy visually what they're watching.
I think that's I'm more used to doing that. Where, instead of like solving a puzzle.
Right. That's why, like, there was a show on TV a while ago with that was called Castle, which was a murder kind of police show, Yeah. And it was something that me and my wife always used to watch. It was an enjoyable show to watch. But, for us, it was always like, okay, so, every episode pretty much it went along the same premise. Mm-hmm. They would give you early clues, and they would usually show you or introduce you to a character that is the killer. Mm-hmm. So, early on in the episode, we would always be like, okay, I think it's this person. And then she would be like, she would either agree or she would pick somebody else, and then we would see who kind of like figured it out. So for me, I'm used to watching these things and I'm used to looking for details, because a lot of these murder mysteries and a lot of these things that are written either in print or shown you on film or in TV, they kind of follow the same premise. They'll give you these early clues that you just think are inconsequential, but they actually become like some of the major key elements later on. Yeah. So I always keep that in mind. I always keep in mind that what are they showing me early? Yeah. And that's what I need to think about. I don't need to think about what happens 3/4 of the way through, because it's all distraction. Whatever they show me early is something I need to keep in mind. So I tend to kind of look at things that way, especially going into these kind of movies.
Yeah, I think my lack of experience with these types of, mystery kind of things, I think that's why I wasn't really getting it, because I'm used to just watching it as it is and watching things unfold and whatever without having to use my brain, I guess.
Right.
I'm just taking it as it comes, basically. So I wasn't really prepared, but
You're not trying to overprocess.
yeah, exactly.
I just want to enjoy the stimuli.
Yeah,
I don't want to
because
overprocess the stimuli.
because I think what a lot of people do is they overanalyze and they pick apart like single things.
Which I tend to do a lot in movies,
Yeah,
sometimes.
and they get stuck on some things, and I think that was me in this movie. I think it pushed me over the edge where I was like, I keep going back to maybe that was all planned, and maybe all of these different things, whether it was the quips or the weird accents or whatever, maybe those were all distractions for the actual clues that they were presenting. So maybe that was on purpose, maybe not. Maybe I'm just a dog looking for the next thing. Just
where's my squirrel?
Yeah,
where's my squirrel?
Exactly. I'm just
No,
a dog
I get it. That
chasing
makes sense.
squirrels.
I mean, but for me, like the pace for me was fine because there were other elements in this movie that I thoroughly enjoyed. I loved the setting. I loved how, in that age, the level of service that these people get on the train. And they show you all these little things where they're measuring, the distance of the tablespoon and the place settings and all these things. And that, you don't see a lot of that stuff, nowadays. I'm sure that there are some restaurants out there that are just so high end that, none of us, probably none of the 99% of the population will ever be kind of in those atmospheres where that kind of stuff happens.
Yeah.
But we're talking about this stuff used to happen on a daily basis. And that was that level of service.
Yeah.
And, for me, being an ex-chef and coming from that kind of industry, and those are the little quirks that kind of, I was just like, oh, that's kind of cool, at that level of service. And then how they were treated and how they were pampered and the different things that they did to accommodate them. Those and the environment kind of kept me going throughout the whole thing. And that, for me, I enjoyed that immensely. So
I definitely enjoyed the attention to detail of the era and the costume design and everything like that. I think all of that was spectacular because I actually like period pieces when they do come out because we're kind of in a decline now. I don't think it's a huge there's a huge uproar for people wanting period pieces, but when we do get those, it's always fun to go back. At least for me. I had a thought. I'm thinking of the thought right now.
I had a thought of the thought that I'm thinking at this moment. It's a total brain fart episode.
Look, it's really late or it's really early. It's one of those things. But I didn't like that we kept seeing all these people. I remember watching it and being like, why are all these people not who they say they are? That's just annoying. Why are people pretending? It's and that's what my thought was. Never did it occur to me oh, they're undercover because they're behind this type of thing.
Because they're all there playing a different role.
But yeah, so they introduced the story of this woman.
The Armstrong family.
The Armstrong family.
Right.
There we go. Yeah, they introduced that whole storyline. And for me, I felt disconnected because we didn't know who these people were. How did it first come up? Because I don't remember when it first came up.
It initially came up, I think, when they discovered the true identity of Mr. Ratchet. Because he was the actual person who kidnapped the child.
I feel like I just felt disconnected from it because I never met this Armstrong family. Then you realize that all these people are linked to these people, and that's why I was like,
this one tragic event had all these different ripples on all these different people in their lives.
Looking back on it, I feel like I should have caught on, but I just didn't.
Now, knowing that, would you go back and watch it again? I'm not saying go back in the theaters, but if it came up and you had the chance to watch it again and sit down and go okay, you know what? Let me give this another chance. Or would you just be like, I already know what happened. I kind of know how it all came about. It's not something that I really want to see unfold. You know
what? I think I would because I do blame myself for because I never fall asleep during movies. It's very rare. and I was very surprised that I was doing that. But yeah, I would definitely go back. They kind of teased at the end a little
They
sequel.
teased at the end because there were 2 movies made. There's The Murder on the Orient Express, and then there's Death on the Nile.
Yeah.
And Death on the Nile, it's kind of the same premise. You have all these people on this boat, a death happens, and then it gets unraveled.
Yeah. Of
And
course, by the same investigator.
well, the way this made it seem that he's being called in after the fact, when in the real story he's part of the whole thing. So I don't know how they're going to tie that in. I like the fact that they kind of teased it, and
Yeah,
I would be excited if they do the reboot of that one as well, because I think it would be a nice tie-in. I thought that everyone did a great job, and the inspector was fantastic. I thought he did a great job.
So, do you think they actually will, though? How well do you think this movie did? And do you think it's going to warrant
it depends on how this one does in the theater. I don't know what the budget was. I don't know, kind of how they're going to break even, or if they're going to break even. But I mean, I would be thoroughly enjoyed to go and see Death on the Nile if they remake it. I would go to theaters and see it. I think it would be a fantastic. We don't get enough of these murder mysteries. They're usually these hack and slash things and whatnot. And, really, truly do we get a really good kind of murder mystery, in this sort of sense.
So it made $28 million. Let's see the budget for this. All right. So we have the budget of $55 million. It made $28 million domestic, $57 million internationally. So it already made its money back.
It made its money back, yeah.
I think they probably will do another one,
which is good, because these period pieces are fantastic, and I thought they did a great job. If they do Death on the Nile, I think it's going to be equally as good. I'll be excited, and I think maybe that might be the opportunity for you to go, okay, man, you know what? If this movie's coming out, I'm going to revisit. I'm going to watch Murder on the Orient Express, get myself in this sort of mind frame.
Yeah, I think I will go back to Orient Express in the future. As of right now, I mean, I'm only left with these thoughts that I have.
Right.
So, if my opinion changes, it changes. I was just a little disappointed in the movie coming out of it.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's fine.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it. I recommend it for anybody out there. For me, it was a fun movie. It was a great movie. It's a good thinking movie. Especially if you haven't read the book or seen the original. I mean, if you're listening to this at this point, you already know what happened. So hopefully, if you were interested in the movie, you would have kind of like left after the spoilers, and we'll timestamp it accordingly.
But final thoughts, initially coming out of this, I was like, I wouldn't recommend this to people.
Mm-hmm.
If you're into mystery and stuff, definitely go and see it. But if you're not into period pieces and you're not a mystery kind of person, you can totally skip this.
Yeah, this probably isn't the movie for you. Yeah. Okay. Moving right along. So we got some interesting, really, really juicy news that came out.
Yeah, StarWars.com announced a few days ago that Rian Johnson, who we all know as the director of The Last Jedi, that's coming out in December, he is going to be creating a new trilogy set totally aside from the Skywalker story, and quote, from a corner of the galaxy that Star Wars lore has never before explored.
Oh.
So this is not going to be in any timeline that we have even seen, which makes it even more fascinating and so much more exciting, because I think a lot of problems that a lot of people are having with these movies coming out, whether it's Rogue One or like even Rebels, the Han Solo movie, they're all in this little time period taking place from between episode 3 and episode 4. And people are starting to be like, hey, can we go somewhere else for a second? Can we explore? There's so much to do in this universe. You have the Old Republic, you have those 30 years after Return of the Jedi, before Force Awakens, to kind of go into the movies with.
Mm-hmm.
You have all of that stuff. Why not do that? So to hear this news, it's like, it's a dream come true. What do you think?
I'm excited. I'm excited on a couple different levels. I'm excited that Disney is so comfortable, and obviously, they are happy with The Last Jedi. They're happy with the movie. They're happy with the way Rian
Oh
Johnson
yeah,
directed it. And it's not even out yet.
and that's and that's also
They don't even know what the
something-
public is going to say about it.
That's something that's also really exciting too. Is that that means they have a lot of faith in The Last Jedi to give this director a whole trilogy all by himself. Like,
Yeah.
that's crazy. So
I think that's
that just
good.
Makes me, makes me more excited for episode 8.
It makes me more excited, and I don't even know if it's really raising my expectations even higher.
Yeah.
I think it was a little bit of a mistake for them to announce this before The Last Jedi came out.
Because maybe people are gonna get overhyped.
I think so. I think now you're really putting a lot of pressure on this movie, and I think you're slightly manipulating some people's expectations before they really have a chance to enjoy a movie.
But what if they know that they have a classic on their hands? What if they know that this is going to do Empire Strikes Back kind of,
They could well know that, but
Yeah.
then again, you just don't know. You don't know until it all goes out. Because I mean, as many people may work at Disney, and as many people are involved with the project of The Last Jedi, it doesn't even come significantly closer to the audience that are going to watch the movie. So you might have a very small amount of people that are going, yeah, man, this movie's great. But then it comes out, and then the greater majority of people that watch it going, yeah, it was all right. It was like Force Awakens. It was, it was kind of like Rogue One. It's not particularly up there where like Empire Strike Back is like considered like the best of the original trilogy.
Yeah.
Is it going to hit those levels? I don't know. So I'm concerned that they came out a little bit too early with that.
Yeah, I could understand that, definitely.
I mean, because I know a lot of people, yourself included, are at the point where I just want to watch the movie. Don't tell me anything more about The Last Jedi. I don't want to see any more trailers. I don't want to see any spoilers. I don't want to see any more content. I just want to watch the movie. And
it's cool because recently they dropped the episode 9 director, and people were all kind of clamoring for Rian Johnson to come back for episode 9. And it ended up going back to J.J. Abrams, and people were kind of upset because, they had heard that all this good stuff about Rian Johnson and how he's working super well with everyone. So people were upset that he wasn't coming back. So it makes this news even better because, well, that's the reason why he's not coming back for episode 9.
He's got his focus somewhere else.
Yeah. So in that way, I'm glad they didn't wait.
So here's my question to you.
Okay.
Now, we have episode 8 coming out in December. Okay. We have episode 9, which is slated in
2019.
2019.
December.
Right. Now, in 2018, we have Solo coming out.
In May.
As
far as we know, May.
Right. So now, every year, we got a Star Wars movie coming out.
Yes.
Okay. What, in 2020? Is that where we're expecting the Obi-Wan Kenobi movie to come out?
Hopefully, but they haven't announced it yet.
They haven't announced it. I think that's what they're going to slate.
Hopefully.
Now, if Rian Johnson now has a trilogy on his hands, so now are we looking at 21, 23, and 25? Or is he going to film them all back to back, and we're going to have like a Lord of the Rings kind of thing where it's going to be 20, 21, and 22?
Well, I would love that because I think Rian Johnson could do something like that. I think he could pull that off really well.
Okay.
It just depends on the story. It depends on a lot of things. But I think to answer your first question, I think it will, like the first of his movies will be in 2021.
Okay. So now, is that too much?
For me, no. But I can understand the general public being like, okay, this is too much.
because
This is too much Star Wars.
We're getting inundated with Star Wars.
We're getting hit over the head with Star Wars.
Because not only did they announce that Rian Johnson is going to get his own trilogy, but they also announced that they're slating on doing a TV series.
A live action
TV series
on their new streaming service that they're going to be coming out with, I think, next year.
Yeah. So we're going to have potentially, for the next 6 years, a movie coming out every year. We're going to have a live action show coming out that's constant. Is it going to be too much? Are you giving people enough time to go, yeah, I got my Star Wars fix, and then I can digest that and I can enjoy it for a little while and then give me a little bit more? Well, or are you just trying to get as much money out of your Star Wars addicts?
I don't think it's about the money. To be completely honest, and I know that's like kind of like naive to say, but for Star Wars, for Kathleen Kennedy and everyone behind Star Wars, I don't think it's about the money. I think after episode 9, we're going to hold off on the episode movies. We're not going to go into 10. We're going to finish off this trilogy, and then we're going to go into only anthology movies. So then we'll only have one every other year. I think that's what's going to happen here. Unless they do the 1, 2, 3 with Rian Johnson's trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
But Kathleen Kennedy has said, like, after 9, we're going to hold off. At least I believe so. Because you lose that special feeling that Star Wars brings when you are just constantly putting out stuff.
Right.
That's why The Force Awakens did so well, because people hadn't seen like a real Star Wars movie. People are so upset about the prequels, like, still, right? I grew up with them, so I love them. I watching them now, I know why people don't like them, but I still have, a special place for them.
Right.
But people who grew up watching the original trilogy, they've wanted to see where Luke and Han Solo and Leia have been. So that's why it, attracted so much attention, and that's why it's like the biggest opening ever. If we keep putting out movies after movie, like, we're going to lose that, and people are going to be less interested.
So then would you hope, or would you rather that they sort of close the loop and finish these story arcs and all of these timeline sort of, continuing sagas with this? I mean, because it started with the Luke Skywalker kind of trilogy, and now it's evolving into something else. Do we want, at the end of episode 9, for the Finn and the Rey and the Kylo Ren story to also come to a close?
Well, to be honest, I mean, because we've only had one movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's be honest. And I feel like Luke and Leia and Han Solo, they're essential to the, to these sequels, but I feel like I kind of want a little more of the new people. And I feel like we haven't really got that just yet. We'll see how this movie plays out. We'll see how their characters develop and how their storylines go. And, maybe by the end of the trilogy, we'll have satisfying conclusions for all of their stories. But, I can't really say right now. As of right now, I think they will tie it up at the end of episode 9. I don't think they'll go past that.
I think it would be, I don't know if it would be smart or it would be interesting that once episode 9 comes out, that's when you go into the live action series on TV.
Well, did they announce when that's coming out?
They didn't announce when it's coming out. They didn't announce like what time period or what it's about. But I think that might kind of help play into that. They can kind of continue off of that spinoff instead of doing more movies. And they could just go into a live action TV series. And however they wanted to either close one loop and open another, it gives them that flexibility with the TV series. Yeah. Now, going back to the original thing. So now Rian Johnson he's given the keys to the kingdom.
Yeah.
And what kingdom do you want to see? What do you want to see out of this new trilogy? Do you want to see something that goes far beyond in the future? Something that goes, I mean, a lot of people are screaming for the time period, which is called the Knights of the Old Republic
Yeah.
time period, which is actually 1,000 years before
Yeah.
the Skywalker series.
Yeah.
You know,
So I've never played
so
Knights of the Old
in
Republic.
a galaxy far, far away,
I know. Yeah.
long time ago.
I've seen a lot of stuff about it, and I definitely know that so many people love Knights of the Old Republic. They love that era, and they want to see a live action movie about it. And I think that is where they're going, because they're paying attention to what people are saying. People are like, all right, I didn't really need a Han Solo movie. I'm gonna watch it when it comes out, but what I really want is a Knights of the Old Republic movie.
Right.
And like they're listening to stuff like that, and they probably said, hey, we want to do something else. We want to do a new trilogy. They probably came to Rian Johnson and were like, here's some ideas, what do you want? I don't know if I could really see him doing it Knights of the Old Republic, but if that's what he wants to do, yeah. Do you think it's going to be Jedi based, or do you think it's going to be more of a
that was going to be my next question?
Yeah, bounty hunter, or like, because there are talks about
I think there's two ways you can go.
Yeah.
If you're gonna incorporate the Jedi and the Sith, then you might as well do the Knights of the Old Republic, because that's what people want to see.
Yeah.
They want to see more than just one Jedi and one Sith. And in that time era, there were armies of both.
Exactly.
The rule. Well, the
rule of two.
The rule of two hasn't come to pass yet. So, and spoilers for those people that don't know about that. That's a completely separate kind of storyline, which I think would make a fantastic trilogy in and of itself. Is the how that comes about.
Yeah.
I was going to try to say a word that I wasn't prepared to say. Culmination. Yeah, I just can't.
There you go.
Can't do that one. Yeah, it's just beyond my physical ability. But that storyline is phenomenal. Because I've read those books.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
And they're fantastic. But I don't think that's going to be enough for people, because it's just going to seem like another, okay, we got one and we got one, and there's not going to be enough. I think if you're going to do Jedi and Sith, do the Old Republic. Show them these massive amounts of armies and this conflict and how all this stuff is going on. You can have some fun with that. But if you wanted to shy away from it, which I hope that they do, because there's so much more lore out there.
Yeah.
I think a Mandalorian, bounty hunter, and all of these other people that encompass this world.
Yeah.
There's more story out there, and I think you can have some cameos, or you can have some inflection of some Jedi and some Sith in there, but the Mandalorian culture is phenomenal, and I think that there's a lot that you can do with that.
Yeah, like watching Rebels, there's a lot of stuff surrounding the Mandalorian like culture. Just watching like Rebels and watching like it's an animated TV show. But I can't help but, look at these Mandalorian like costumes and stuff and wonder like, dude, this would be awesome live action.
Right.
And so I would either like to see one of those two, either Knights of the Old Republic, armies and armies of Jedi and Sith against each other, or, Mandalorian wars and all of that, because there's a whole history there as well.
Yeah.
And I think there are enough people that want to see those as well. So either one of those, I'd be happy. But if you're gonna go big, you gotta go Knights of the Old Republic. I mean, think about the budget. Think about like the effects. Like, you can't do Knights of the Old Republic on the TV show.
No, they wouldn't.
Unless they give it a Game of Thrones budget, which they probably won't.
Well, and here's the thing: is so this is gonna go on Disney's streaming service, and what's the atmosphere of Disney's streaming service going to be? Is it just going to be when I think of Disney, I think of Hannah Montana. And I think of,
that's a little weird.
I think of gooey, tooey, just very soft thing. I don't think of anything even remotely close to Game of Thrones. And the sexually explicit and the violence and the gore and everything else that is encompassed with that movie. I mean, it's a fantastic series, but I would never expect to see that with anything associated with the Disney brand, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but if you go onto like Netflix, right? Marvel, they're under this Disney banner, right? But then you have the Marvel TV shows, the Netflix shows that are brutal and they have blood and they don't have nudity, I don't think, but they have suggestive themes
Right. And that's where I think they're gonna. I think this is a very slippery slope
yeah.
for Disney, because when I think of Marvel on Netflix, Disney doesn't even come to mind. I don't think about it being a Disney production. It's a Marvel and a Netflix production. So I'm fine with watching this content on Netflix. Now, parents, especially my generation and whatever, that have kids and well, I don't have kids, but I mean that have kids, I think a lot of us have the same kind of preconceived disposition when it comes to Disney. And then just like the Disney Channel, you'll never see an R-rated film on the Disney Channel.
Well, no, yeah.
You'll never see it.
No.
So now you have a service. And now you have these families that are going to, oh, okay, well, yeah, we're going to subscribe to the Disney service. Now, what as a parent in a family atmosphere am I going to expect to see? What content is going to be available to my kids on this service? And I'm sure they're going to have parental locks and things like that, or whatnot.
They're going to have different, because there's going to be a kids one, there's going to be a just a regular one with all the more adult ones. But you have to look at like how Disney owns ABC as well. And they had ABC Family, and I think it switched to another name, and I don't remember it now. While it was under Disney, they had Secret Life of the American Teenager on there, about teen pregnancy and all that stuff. They had Pretty Little Liars about, it has all these different themes as well. It doesn't say, hey, we're Disney, but it is owned by Disney, and Disney is okaying this. But and that's where I think the line is drawn. If this streaming service is called Disney Streaming Service or whatever, if it has Disney in the name, 100% they will not put anything.
Probably PG-13, or probably, I mean, almost anything beyond PG-13 is not going to be associated. You're not going to see the Disney theme flag with Tinkerbell farting her way across, the castle before any of these shows that are, adult oriented.
Because that's the reason why they have, Daredevil and Jessica Jones, and they have all those themes in there because it doesn't explicitly say Disney on it.
Right.
It says Netflix and it says Marvel. Only people like us would be like, yeah, that's Disney actually. And, they could do all these teen drama, pregnancy, whatever, shows on ABC or ABC Family because it doesn't explicitly say Disney.
Right.
But as long as it says Disney, it's not going to have any of that. So the Star Wars show that we're going to be talking about, it's not going to be Game of Thrones level. It's not going to be
which is
gory.
A shame.
Yeah, it's not going to be anything like that. Because as we saw with Rogue One, Gareth Edwards, he had this idea for this really, and it is gritty and whatever, but I mean, he went another level. And they pulled it back and they brought in another director to, kind of tweak some things to bring it back to this lighthearted, because it was going to be dark. Like, it was going to be really dark. So the fact that they did that, and they also pulled, I
wonder if we'll ever see that footage
in like 30 years.
Yeah.
And same thing with the Han Solo movie. Lord and Miller, they filmed pretty much the entire movie. We're not going to see that footage for a long time, if ever. But they probably had some adult suggestive, comedy in there.
Right.
And that's why Disney had to be like, no. So I can honestly say that I believe that whatever show we get, it's going to be PG-13, if that.
Yeah.
And the kind of PG-13 that's like The Force Awakens. It's just action and maybe a few like quote unquote scary moments for kids that make it PG-13.
Right.
But there's no actual adult themes that push it to PG-13. So that's what we're going to see in the show.
Which, I think going back, I think it would be the best bet for them to continue off of episode 9 and slide right into the TV show. because you've already got a premise, you've already got an audience, you already can pretty much have this level of content that you need to be at.
Yeah.
So anything else that you put in there, people are either going to have too high or too low of these expectations, and that's going to be missed. You know, for Rian Johnson's trilogy, I think it'd be fantastic to do the Knights of the Old Republic, but then again, I think a Mandalorian thing. I mean, if they could do a trilogy on the Great Hunt, which is a big thing in the Mandalorian culture, and that would just be mind-blowingly fantastic, because that's an event that would encompass treachery, politics, different cultures. I mean, all these different things. I mean, it's almost like a Predator type of culture of this hunt, and this hierarchy of accomplishment. I think that would be a fantastic kind of a journey. Now, whether or not you can break that into 3, I don't know. It could be a great standalone movie, but
yeah, that's true.
I mean, that's my thoughts on those.
Yeah, we'll just have to see at this point.
Hopefully
it's
they'll
fun
wait
to
until after December. I think just
Absolutely.
let everybody just sit and kind of relax and wait for the movie to come out.
I think, well, here's the thing. 6 months after The Last Jedi comes out, Han Solo comes out. So, if they're going to announce anything else about this trilogy, it's not going to be until after Han Solo comes out. That's just my thing. I think we're really ramping up to The Last Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be, for that month, it's going to dominate for, a month out. And then it's going to start to slow down. Maybe that's the time to kind of announce something else. But also, I think that's when we're going to be ramping up for Han Solo.
Yeah.
So I think it's just going to be nonstop.
But, it's interesting. I mean, there's just... You have this, it's almost a dynasty. Star Wars dynasty. And I think for a lot of people, I mean, myself included, it's always nice to have this to look at and to enjoy. I just hope they don't flood us with all of this stuff, because there's other things to enjoy. I mean, even the Marvel Universe is getting because Thor was the 17th movie.
Yeah.
In the MCU, which I think the reason why it did so good is because it wasn't like any of the previous 16.
Yeah.
I think, with the exception of Deadpool. Deadpool was a one-off. Because Deadpool...
Well, Deadpool's not a part of that anyway.
Well, it's not a part of it, but I think it did so well because it didn't have the same feeling. It didn't have the same kind of moxie, as any of the other movies. It was a completely different, and it was fantastic and thoroughly enjoyable. Which I think Thor, which is the reason why Thor did so good. So I don't want to go through the whole year going, I'm either going to watch a Marvel movie or I'm going to watch a Star Wars movie. And everything in between is just going to suck ass.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that. I mean, there's so much other content out there,
Hopefully.
So hopefully. But I mean, and that's why I'm going, these are the cash cows that they're milking. And sooner or later, that udder's going to run dry. Oh, yeah, that was a cow pun.
Very good. I could go into something else, but we're gonna.
This is just gonna be tangent fest. So, all right. So come on off of that. I just got to do a shout out. We're gonna talk a little bit about what we're watching, but this weekend, probably in my humble opinion, which everyone can disagree with, it doesn't amount to much, but the season 4 got released on Netflix of The Great British Baking Show, which completely wrecked my weekend because I wasn't expecting it, and I was just like, oh, damn, I gotta watch this because it is by far the best cooking show I've ever seen.
So how many have you watched already?
I'm 6 in.
Oh my god.
I'm 6 in.
You literally told me that it came out like last night.
Like yesterday morning. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no sleep. Yeah. I'm going to bed. I'm trying to nap, and I'm thinking about biscuits and croissants and pastry dough.
And Mary Berry.
Yeah. And I got to do a plug. I mean, for those of you who haven't seen it, it is an absolute gem. It is so real. It is so down to earth, and it is by far unlike any other show out there because everyone on that is absolutely 100% real.
And they're
not,
so nice.
Yeah, and they're nice people. They're not manipulative. They're not there for drama.
Yeah, they're not trying to sabotage anyone.
Yeah, they're not
just
trying to sabotage.
Do their best. They're,
yeah.
If anything, they're helping anyone
they're
else.
helping each other out a lot of times, and you feel crushed when some of these people's when their creations just fall apart, and you're going, oh, that's just, and you could just feel it with them that they're just devastated. You know, when their centerpieces fall down, or their cake just doesn't come out. I mean, it is probably it is pure entertainment. It's some of the best content out there.
Yeah.
I highly recommend it. I can't plug that enough.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great show. You put me onto it, and I binged it like crazy. And no, it's a really good show, and I would recommend it as well to anyone who likes those cooking shows. Like, this is like the most earnest, the most like kind-hearted version of that, but it's very enjoyable. So yeah, get into that. Going into, one of my recommendations, my brother put me onto Chef's Table, which is it's a Netflix original series about fine dining and the best restaurants in the world. And they're kind of documentary style episodes of, these fine dining chefs and how they got to this point and what they've had to go through to open this restaurant, and the details and that level of service that we were kind of talking about before.
Right.
In these restaurants, and and it's just amazing, like these people's stories and the way it's shot, and I just love cinematography, and when you can get that in a documentary where it looks like a movie and you feel for these real life people like you would, like, characters in a story. I think all of these episodes are really well done, so you don't have to watch them in order. Pick something that sticks out to you, but it makes you just want to save up this money and just go to these, because I mean, it's an experience beyond anything that I've ever witnessed myself. But that's something. Yeah, that's just a little. Throw it on if you have nothing else to watch.
Okay. All right.
Another one, real quick, because I've just been bombarded with all this new stuff, and my list is getting
exponentially larger
and longer.
There's too much content. There's not enough time.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to get into Mindhunter. I still haven't watched even one episode. After work on my Friday, I was, me and my brother were just sitting down and, what should we watch? And, choosing something that, and we've all been through this, choosing something that you both can agree on.
You can both agree on.
It's like, I wasn't going to put on Mindhunter. I wasn't going to put on, the new episode of Mr. Robot that I still haven't seen. So we had to pick something. So we were kind of going around Netflix, and we were on my Netflix, and on my list is Nightcrawler, which I've seen before. I don't know if you saw Nightcrawler. It came out in 2014.
Right.
Jake Gyllenhaal. Did you see that?
I haven't seen it. I saw the previews, so I mean, that was kind of enough for me. Because I haven't really talked to anybody that's seen it that has given me a yay or nay on it.
Well,
I kind of saw.
Let me be that person real
quick.
Okay. Well, I guess telling you, this is my second time seeing it. That answers your question already.
That's a good indicator.
It's amazing. Like, when I saw it, I was just mind blown. The director who directed Nightcrawler, it was his first movie that he had written and directed. Mm-hmm. And you would think that this person was making movies like, for 10, 20 years. Because this movie is, I would say it's a masterpiece. I would say it's something that everyone needs to see. That's my ultimate recommendation.
Wow, that's a big plug.
Yeah, because I thoroughly enjoy this movie.
Well, the premise is Jake Gyllenhaal he plays this upcoming sort of paparazzi photographer.
So he films news stories as they happen. So like whether it's shootings or stabbings or anything like local newsworthy,
right?
These local news stations will pay big money for footage of these things that happen, these big stories that happen.
If they're the first that can put it out.
If they're the first ones on the scene that can, yeah.
Right.
So he's kind of a hustler, and he's trying to find his niche. And this kind of happens where he witnesses these people filming this accident that just happened. And he's like, "What are you doing?" And they kind of explain it, and he's like, "That's what I want to do." So take that, and then add in the fact that Jake Gyllenhaal just plays this crazy kind of very creepy and very,
which he's very good at.
you know, and this is another thing. Like, I've seen Jake Gyllenhaal. We all know who he is. We all know his face. But I can't tell you, maybe I can't really say like 5 or even 10 movies that I've seen with him in it. But after this movie, I want to go and see his whole filmography, because this movie doesn't get enough credit.
These are a lot of positive plugs. I mean, I'm generally piqued here.
Yeah, and it's just a really thrilling movie. It's a really suspenseful movie, and I think it just is really well done. So that's my huge plug. Take it or leave it.
All right.
Hopefully take it.
So 2 good recommendations for you, listeners out there. Great British Baking Show. Also, Chef's Table.
Chef's Table.
And Nightcrawler, if you haven't seen it. You know, get a little Jake Gyllenhaal. I mean, for all you ladies out there, get your Gyllenhaal fix, you know. Got to get the Jake
For all you guys, I mean, get your Gyllenhaal as well. Like, who knows?
And for all you men out there, get your Gyllenhaal fix. Get your Jake in there. So, anything else?
Nah, I think that's about it.
I'm still plugging. I just saw the... I saw the series, the mid, what is it now? The mid-series finale, where they do this break now, which I get it. Here's a side rant, real quick. Side rant.
Oh man.
I get it. I understand it, but I didn't grow up with this, so it pisses me off. Where if you're gonna release a series, just release the series, please, so we can watch it from A to Z. Giving me 6 episodes or 9 episodes and then taking a month and a half break and then making me, you know, kind of get back into it.
Yeah.
I mean, this is why Netflix is so popular.
Well, yeah, because people just want to binge.
They want to binge. You know, it's hard enough to go week to week.
They're not patient. People aren't patient anymore.
But if you're going to give me half a series and you leave it, and of course, I mean, that's the hook, right? They're going to leave you on this whatever is going to happen at the end, and you're just like, what? I need to watch the next one, and you have to wait a month and a half.
Yeah.
But anyways, you know, I'm still plugging through Star Trek Discovery. That the mid-season finale came out, which, you know, was good. I still think the Orville is better. Watched another episode of the Walking Dead, which was, wow. I could do another half hour on ranting on just this one episode and just how ridiculously unbalanced some of the stuff happened in this thing. I was just like, you've got to be kidding me. But anyways, that's my side rant.
But I think that finishes it off for this week.
Finishes it off for that. This is episode 6 wrapping up. Next week we've got just, oh my God, I don't even know how I'm going to get through next week.
Next week is going to be so crazy.
So we're going to Justice League Friday morning.
Yeah, we're going to see Justice League, but you know what else comes out?
And weaving in and out, like I think weaving before and after Justice League, we're going to be binge watching The Punisher on Netflix.
Now, some early thoughts on both of those have come out recently.
Yeah.
Just, you know, in summary, Justice League, it's mostly positive, but it's pretty mixed.
Yeah.
In general. So that just makes me, you know, even more curious about what I'm gonna think. And then The Punisher, of course, we've got one side of the coin where people have been excited for this, and they are excited for this, and they watch it, and they've only seen the first 6 episodes, but they're saying it's amazing.
Yeah.
They're saying it's up there with Daredevil.
Yeah, they said it's absolutely enjoyable. Frank Castle is amazing, but it's a good series.
Yeah.
Now, you had you read something that was sort of almost kind of like a little bit of a negative review.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think... with the events of everything that have been going on, with the Las Vegas shooting, last month, we just had another mass shooting in Texas. Unfortunately, not even 2 weeks, maybe I think it was last week.
It was like last week.
In light of all of this stuff, there comes a question of, the Punisher, who is an assassin. He's, he has an arsenal of guns. He shoots people. That's what he does. Is this an appropriate show and an appropriate time?
Absolutely. And let me back that up. In no way is Frank Castle out there just spraying hate just for no reason, without any kind of justification. He's got his own agenda. He's got a story arc, and there's things going on. So, you cannot even kind of put that in the same ballpark as any kind of mass shooting person who's out there to just destroy people for no reason whatsoever. Now, I think on the sensitivity side, where we've had all these mass shootings lately, and is it appropriate to have another violent gun content released? And I say this, the mass shootings, this is the world we live in now. Yeah. Whether it's going to happen every week or every month or every other month, it's escalating.
Yeah.
We just have to accept that. I'm not saying it's right. I think it's disgusting. Yeah. I can't believe that we're at this point in our society.
Yeah.
But until things come under control, until certain things become, until certain things change in our society, this is the world that we live in. So, sometimes content's going to come out, and maybe it might not be the best time. I mean, I give Netflix and Disney and the MCU, kudos. We talked about this in one of our, previous episodes, that they held back their trailer and their initial kind of spotlight reveal for the Punisher, because it was supposed to come out that same weekend that the big Las Vegas shooting came out. So, that sensitivity is there, but at some point, these companies we have this content that we need to get out.
Yeah. And
when is the right time?
Yeah. Look, if they pushed back every time a mass shooting happened, and say, with the way things are going, you don't know when this stuff is going to happen.
Yeah.
So if you set a release date and something like this happens, it's so unfortunate, and it's terrible. But at the same time, this is a show that a lot of people have worked hard on, and a lot of people, want to see. Despite everything, there's still an audience for this. It's not. I also don't believe it's the wrong time. I don't think it's the wrong show for right now. Which is the article. The article that I had kind of looked at was saying it was the wrong show at the wrong time. But was there ever a right time for this show? There's
never a right time for a mass shooting.
Exactly.
So it's something we can't control.
Yeah, it's out of our control.
And for these content creators, at this point, for them to release their content on release dates, it's a roll of the dice. They don't know what's going to happen, that week. And I think a lot of people are kind of, I think they don't understand that mass shootings happen daily, hourly in our country.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Some get publicity and some don't. And it's all of those that don't, which is the real tragedy.
Yeah.
And that's, and so, at one point do we go, is enough enough? We can be sensitive to a certain point, but at another time we have to come up to we have to, understand the reality of the world that we live in, that this is now a common occurrence, which is disgusting, but
absolutely
it is what we live in. So,
yeah, I mean, if you guys have any thoughts on that, feel free to let us know. Because this is, it's something that should be talked about, I think.
Yeah, I mean, share your thoughts, share your disgust, share your, if you agree with us, if you don't agree with us, we want that feedback.
Yeah, and we want to hear about, all of these views on this kind of stuff. So, Yeah, so if you want to reach the show, you can always email us at postproductionpod@gmail.com. We're also on Twitter and Instagram. You can follow us personally. I'm Adam Scadam.
I am Mr. Drew LV on Twitter as well.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, I'm good. Another brain fart. And this is wrapping up the brain fart episode.
There we go.
Support your local cow.
Or don't. I mean, you don't have to.
Or don't. Yeah,
I don't know.
Chicken lovers.
Now I don't know what to say because we're talking about farm animals. But anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed this episode. Join us next week for Justice League and The Punisher and whatever crazy news comes out.
Yeah, I would love for there not to be any crazy news, because I would love to just talk about The Punisher and Justice League, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think there's going to be some more Avalanche. There's going to be some more things that happen in our world that we live in that is just kind of a craziness. But not to leave it on a somber note. Like us, don't like us, thumbs up, thumbs down. Check out the content. Leave us your feedback. Talk to us. Give us your opinions. Share us some stories. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah.
But this is episode 6, and have a great, fantastic brain fart of the day.
I think you brain farted on that.
Yeah,
last part.
I was like midway, kind of saluting the air, where I was like in my mind, I was like,
"Look, you need to go to bed. Just go to bed." Anyway, guys, we'll see you next week. This has been Post Production.